Okay, I started this show. It is so good. I am locked in. Locked in. I'm sat. I'm I really like it, so I really hope it doesn't disappoint me. But anyways, okay. It's called When the Phone Rings. It's about a husband and wife who, after a kidnapping incident, their relationship changes forever. Okay, so I need you to, that's kind of the very basic part of the plot. So, here we go. The husband is like a very high profile. I don't think he's, okay, that was my computer. I have no idea if that came through my speakers, but my phone is propped up on my computer. So if you heard a weird like ding, that's what it was. If you didn't hear it, pretend I never said anything. Anyways, so the husband is like a high profile, I guess, politician, but he also he works for like the presidential office, and he does like he's like the spokesperson for the president, and he also is like really skilled in like hostage negotiation. And he's done it all. He's like very like high profile professional, okay? He knows what he's doing. And then he's married to this his wife, okay? And it's like very much kind of like a, not necessarily a contract marriage. I don't think technically. I mean, yes. No, it basically is. Anyways, so it's like a contract marriage. They're not in love, don't have feelings for each other. She's mute also. That's a big part of her character. So she signs. That's also kind of like her job, is like she does like sign language. She's a sign language interpreter. Okay, that's important for her character. And so yeah, they don't love. There's no love lost between them, whatever. And one day she is driving home, and her car starts going out of control, and she's like doesn't know what's wrong. She's freaking out, of course, because she can't really like steer it, and the doors are like weird, and the navigation's all messed up. And she remembers, because so she does like sign language interpreting for the news, and so she remembers a situation where she was signing about a situation. Oh my gosh, how many times can I say situation? Oh my gosh, shut up. Sorry. There was a malware thing with the GPS where someone took over someone's car because of that. They like the malware through the GPS navigation system overtook the entire car. So she realizes that, and she goes, well, that must be what's happening to me. Like she thinks that or whatever. And so she's freaking out, of course, as you would. And then her car finally, like, she's able to, like, I don't remember if she stops it or if whoever's controlling her car stops it, whatever. So her car's, like, in the middle of, like, the street. And then, of course, it's raining because it's always raining. And this really freaky guy is, like, standing off over here, staring at her with a mask and, like, a huge coat on. It's actually so creepy. He starts walking towards her, and the doors unlock because, again, she has no control over her car. And she like tries to lock them, whatever. It doesn't end up working. He gets into the backseat of her car. So now she's being threatened by this kidnapper who basically, takes over her car, and obviously is now like threatening her. And so she has to like drive, like he's making her drive. Okay. He calls her husband. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. He calls her husband and starts threatening, like, oh, I have your wife. I'm going to kill your wife. Husband doesn't believe it. He thinks it's like a scam call, and if you consider his position of what he does for a job, it's not crazy that he doesn't believe it, but you're also like, okay, you're a little bit of a jerk. You should have believed it. Anyway, so the wife hears about how dismissive the husband is on the phone, because again, he just thinks it's a scam call. He doesn't think it's real. And at one point, because the kidnapper keeps being like, oh, I'm going to kill your wife, I'm going to kill your wife, she like hears the husband say, because again, of course, the phone's on speaker. She hears him say, he's like, oh, well, do it then, and call me when you have a corpse. Crazy. So she hears that, and of course is absolutely enraged. And I mean, how could she not be? Like, that's an awful thing to say. Like, he literally is just being like, I don't even care. So she gets really mad. And then she starts talking. Y'all, she can talk. She can talk. So that's crazy. So she starts calling, and she's like, call him back right now, to the kidnapper, which is crazy. The kidnapper's just like, oh, what's going on? So she starts freaking out. And I can't remember if she ends up talking to him on the phone or not, like because there's like a voice changer obviously on the phone so that they don't know who's talking to them. I don't remember if she talks to him. I think she does, but I can't remember. Anyways, so she's driving, and she ends up like, she doesn't crash the car, but she bangs it up enough that the kidnapper gets like knocked out because the car starts like spinning or whatever. And then she like stumbles out of the car once the car's finally stopped, and she is just kind of there. Like, she's just like stumbles out of the car. And then, like, within the next couple of scenes, she's, like, back at her house. So you don't really know how she got back. You don't know what happened to the kidnapper, blah, blah, blah. What you end up finding out later is that she ended up getting her car towed. We don't know where the kidnapper went, though. He just, like, dipped. He left. And he didn't hurt her when he left. We don't know how she got away from him. We don't know, okay? Because he just disappears. So then she's back at her house, and he comes and checks on her and sees that she's home. I think it's, like, the next day he sees that she's home or something. And initially he doesn't believe that it happened because she doesn't tell him what happened, and he thought that his wife was with, like, her, like, at their house because she was with her mom earlier on in the show. Her mom sucks, by the way. She was with her mom earlier on in the show, and the mom was like, because he had called his mother-in-law being like, hey, is my, like, wife, like, what's going on? And she's like, oh yeah, I dropped her off, she went home or something, which she didn't go home. She was driving home. I don't know. I can't remember. It's that's not that important. All you need to know is that he doesn't know that happened to her. He doesn't know that she actually got kidnapped. He doesn't know it was real. I think he still thinks it was a scam call. And then, okay, so let me try to remember. And then, so she's obviously super mad about that whole situation because she knows what he said. And she is just, like, ticked off at him, of course. And then he tells her that they have this, like, event that they need a sign language interpreter at. And he's like, come with me. Like, you have to come with me. He's kind of demanding. So she goes with him. They don't appear as a couple because, again, that's the whole thing. No one knows that she's the wife. And they just appear as, like, she's just a sign language interpreter, and then he's just, the, whatever, whoever he is in this place. And then the wife does kind of her job, and she's all mad at him, and she's like, I just want to leave. So she leaves. So she drank kind of a lot, so she ends up going, like, kind of stumbling around and then going to we don't know where she goes, right? She's the bathroom or something like that. And then the husband gets a call from the same number that called him from the scam kidnapper, blackmailer, whatever. And this time the voice, though, is different. The voice is much more, like, confident and clear. The person before had a stutter and also just was getting way more flustered. This person's very, like, methodical, okay? Is that the right word? Anyways, and so he's talking to this person, and then this guy, because it's a male voice, like, the voice is, like, changed, but it's a guy talking, like, that's what the voice sounds like. It's a man. And so this guy the blackmailer starts to tell him, and is basically just, like, starts to say a bunch of personal details and personal things that no one but the immediate family of this husband would know, or him would know. And he's like, I know that you were I know that the fiance that you were supposed to marry, like, that's not who you married, and you married the younger sister. Because that's a big thing. So when the husband was supposed to get married, he was supposed to marry his wife's older sister. They were engaged. They were the ones that was getting married. But, like, I think it was the day of the wedding, the older sister dipped, and he ended up marrying the younger sister, and they privated the wedding, and, like, hush hush, no one knows, okay? It's all, it's not public knowledge. And so that's why their relationship is even more, like, what's the word? Contentious? Is that the right context for that? But, like, that's why it's even more, it's like, I was supposed to marry your older sister, I wasn't even supposed to marry you, you were the stand-in, you were the fake wife, whatever. So that it makes sense why the relationship is partly so bad. But anyway, so this kidnapper knows all these secret details and things that no one else but the immediate family would know. So the husband is like, okay, wait, this is, like, a little bit more serious, right? And then the kidnapper is basically like, they're going back and forth. And then you see who the blackmailer is. It's the wife. So when she had, like, banged up her car, she grabbed that phone that the original kidnapper was using. She grabbed that phone and she took it with her. So now Girly is using, like, this phone, and she's being this blackmailer, and her whole shtick of what she wants and what she demands to the husband is that she's like, you need to, like, leave herself, Hong Yi-soo or whatever her name is. Like, you need to leave her, go back with your original fiance, and, like, leave your wife, like, just get rid of her, like, let her go, whatever. or pay this amount of money. Those are like the wife's demands, because she just wants to be away from him and this life and everything that's involved with it, because it's just not happy. And she's like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. So those are her demands as the kidnapper. Okay. But the husband starts to like, he's kind of like, the negotiation, the talking, it's not going well, right? It's just kind of, they're kind of arguing. And then the wife gets really upset because she's like, obviously not as herself, but she's like, your wife, she almost got hurt. She got cut and she was super scared and she was super terrified and blah, 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 because she's mad, because she's like, why is he being so dismissive and whatever. So at this point, now the husband knows that it actually happened. So then he gets really mad and he like punches the wall, and he's basically like, I've never been so curious about a man before. Like, I'm so like, I want to know who you are. Like, I'm going to figure out who you are, type of weird situation, right? Now the wife hears that and is kind of like, what the heck? Like, what is this? So she's only like on the phone for 10 minutes, because after 10 minutes, I guess the way that the VPN thing or however the phone is, they can like track the phone after 10 minutes. So their calls are always trying to exceed. He's always trying to, anytime like because they have more conversations, they was trying to get it to like 10 minutes or beyond so they can like track it more. So she hangs up really fast because of that. And then she leaves the bathroom and she sees her husband, and she's like, oh my gosh, he's right there. So she's like trying to walk away, and then he sees her, and because he didn't know, because he was like worried about her, I guess, because the kidnapper, which is crazy, it's so funny, he figured, he wasn't sure if the kidnapper was like in that event, like nearby, because the way he was talking, he was like knowing exactly where the husband was. He's like, oh, I see you're standing by this table and blah, 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 which obviously it was because it was the wife. But anyways, obviously the husband doesn't know that. And so then he freaks out, and then he like is like checking her for injuries or whatever, which was kind of hot, I won't lie. Anyways, and because now he knows that she actually was in a car accident, injured. So he like asks her, were you actually in a car accident? And of course she like responds, she like nods a lot. And she also like types on her phone, mostly because I don't think he understands sign language. That's like a whole part of it, which is also kind of like, you don't understand, you should have learned sign language. Even if you don't like your wife, you could have learned how to communicate with her. But the whole point of their relationship was like they didn't ever talk or communicate. Anyways, so now he knows. And she also puts together, because she was like, when she was on the phone with him, when he punched the wall, which is such a man thing to do. When he punched the wall, she heard it over the phone, and then she saw that his knuckles were like kind of bloody, like he had hurt himself. And she's like, wait, what? And then she's like, oh, why do I care? Why do I care? She cares. Anyways, so then that's kind of how the first episode ends. The first episode? That's how the first episode kind of ends. And then into the second episode, now there's like more she keeps like conversing with him and having situations and talking with him. And one conversation she has, she sends a picture. Oh my gosh, it's funny, but it's also a little bit like, okay. But she's on the phone with him, okay? And she's just messing with him, like, basically. And she okay, so she got this lingerie from her mom, because her mom is weird, and she's like, you need to be like doing your wifely duty, whatever. Weird is strange, right? And initially she was like really dismissive of it, but then she was like, wait, I have an idea. So she puts this lingerie on, which, by the way, it's not even like scandalous. She's wearing, it's like a dress, it's like a silk dress that's like goes to like her thighs. I don't know, it's not even like that scandalous, but she has like this like I don't know, stocking, I don't know what they're called, I don't know what lingerie is, I don't know, whatever. But she takes a picture of her legs, okay, her thighs, nothing that scandalous, and she sends it to him, and she's like, did you get the picture? And he's like, of course, he's like, oh, it's fake, it's not real, because she's like, oh, that's like your wife's thighs, whatever, trying to be all like, messing with him or whatever. And he gets all, it kind of has the opposite effect, and he's basically like, oh, it's fake, like, blah, 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 you're like a pervert. And he's like, I can get you for like sexual, like, harassment acts of blah, 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 blah. And then she's kind of starting to freak out, because she's like, oh, snap, like, what are you talking about? What pervert, what? Because she's like, that wasn't really the way she meant it to go, but like now it's like messed up. And then he's like, I'm trying to remember, she gets all mad because she's like, he's like bluffing as though he has been like with his wife and has been, intimate with his wife, and he knows all these things, because she's even at one point says to him like, oh, if you never, like, are you like, what does she say? Basically, she says like, you've never seen her naked. Like, obviously, whatever, kind of insinuating a lot of stuff. And then he's like bluffing as if he has, and then the wife, because again, it's her, so she gets all mad and she's like, why are you acting like you know your wife so well? Because he keeps, going on and bluffing and acting like he knows her. Oh, I know my wife, blah 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 blah. She's like, you don't. She's like, what are you even talking about? You think that picture's fake? Well, didn't you see the very distinctive mole she has on her leg? Like, if you don't believe it's actually your wife, you should come check. And then she hangs up. And then she's freaking out because she's like, oh my gosh, why did I say you should check? Like, what was I thinking? Why would I say that? And so then when he comes home, he comes into her room and you're like, oh my gosh. And he doesn't do anything. Nothing technically happens. They have one of those stupid scenes that only happens in a show where, like, they end up, like, really close together, like, face to face like this or whatever, but, like, nothing happens. And he doesn't check. And she kind of wonders. She's like, wait, why didn't he check? What the heck? That's weird. Because it seemed like he was going to, like, to check her leg. Anyways, and then, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. And then what ends up happening? They have another conversation where he threatens her. Wait, no, not he. The blackmailer threatens the husband. She threatens her husband. To like, you need to either let your wife go or give me the amount of money or I'll kill her, or like oh my gosh, the wife just threatens the husband, like with a kind of an ultimatum or whatever, and she ends up, oh my gosh, I'm trying so hard to remember all the details here. She says some threatening comment, whatever, trying to push him, and then she has a conversation with him on the phone. Oh, now I remember. Sorry, they have a couple conversations, but anyways, then they're like talking on the phone, and the husband kind of has the upper hand. He's kind of like messing with her, and she's on the phone with him as the blackmailer, and then this like explosion happens, and her ears start ringing and whatever, and then she looks at her phone, and the phone is hung up, and she lost the call with the husband. She tries to call him back, doesn't work. She's like, what happened? So she goes home, she looks around for him, tries to find him in the house, tries to call him again as the blackmailer because she's still trying to like keep up this farce or whatever, and then she's like, he's not here. So she goes and sits on the couch. She falls asleep, and he's still not home the next morning. So she's like, what is going on? Where is he? What is going on? What happened? Because she just doesn't know what happened. She's like confused. And then he comes home. Listen, okay, before he comes home, she turns on the TV, and she finds out that in an office building, there was an explosion. Some masked man brought this box, and there was an explosion in this office, and a couple of the people were injured. And they're framing that incident of what happened on her voice recordings. So they have the recordings of her voice, and they're like, these people have been being threatened by this voice, and this is what the person said, and it was like one of her last like threats of like, if you don't do this, blah blah blah, bad things will happen, or I'll kill her, or whatever she had said. I can't remember. But anyway, so now she's like freaking out because she's like, oh my gosh, like a fire, I didn't do that, like that wasn't me, because again, all she's ever done this whole time is like threaten him over the phone. That's it. She was never going to do anything. But now we know that there's another kidnapper, there's another person out there, but now it looks like she's the one that's doing it because of her threatening phone calls or whatever. And then her husband gets home, and he's all, oh guys, he looked so good. I literally was not okay. His shirt was like he had like a white button up. It was like kind of open. He was like kind of like dirty from like obviously smoke or fire or something. He had like a little thing on his neck, like a wound, and then he had a little blood on his shirt. He looked really good. His hair looked good. And then he comes up to her, and he gets really freaking close. And he basically is like, oh, I just realized my little headphone cord is in the corner of the camera. Oops. Don't mind that. Anyways, he gets really close to her, and I feel like what he said doesn't really make a lot of sense. I was like a little confused, but he basically was just saying like, there's nothing about you that I don't know, or that you're my only lead. Whatever. He was just like saying vague stuff. I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. I was like, what are you gonna do here? Because you're getting really close to her. And then he picks her up. He puts her on the table. Hand placement, y'all. Hand placement, because his hands were right on her waist, and I was like, ugh. I know nothing's probably gonna happen. But then he's like, I need to check or whatever. I don't even remember what he said. And he starts to push up her dress. And she like stops him, of course, and she like puts her hand on his hand and is like, like, what are you doing? Obviously, again, not physically saying this, but just looking at him, being like, what? And he's like, he goes, do you want to take it off, or do you want me to take it off? And I was like, I'm sad. And they're like, that's where the episode ends. So he's checking to see if she has the mole on her leg. Like, that's what he's trying to do. But, like, why did you have to do it in the sexiest way possible? So now, in the preview for the next episode, this is another part I didn't talk about, which I'll give it's a very brief, quick thing. During one of so she obviously is an interpreter, right? A sign language interpreter. So she was in court, and she was signing for this woman. And after the session was done, she was like in the bathroom, and then she heard footsteps and she could see a shadow of someone. So she obviously is a little freaked out, because she's like, okay, I'm thinking about the guy that kidnapped me, blah, this is scary. And it turns out it was just her friend, but it was just like looked suspicious. And he even apologizes for it after. He's like, sorry. He's like, I should have known that was like weird to like stand outside the women's bathroom, whatever. And this is a friend she knew in college. Super hot, super sexy, super man, super tall, of course. And he knows sign language. I was like, oh. Anyways, so he's in this thing or whatever, and so the wife has bodyguards that the husband set up. The bodyguards had lost her, obviously, when she went to talk to her friend, and they were like trying to find her. They find her. They're obviously in communication with the husband. They're like, oh, we found her. She's with a man. He's like, what man? So they take a picture of him and send it to him. So now the husband knows that there's a guy in this situation. And now flash back, because they obviously throughout this whole thing, he's trying to figure out who the kidnapper was, who like harmed his wife from the get-go, right? And in the security footage they see of the car, when her car had stopped and the guy had stalked towards her car and got in her car because he could control it and unlock it, it looks like she let him in. It looks like he got in the car. So now there's the idea of maybe he thinks his wife is having an affair. So that guy that's her friend, like, that's like a new tension point in the next like 2 episodes, is because this guy is like in his wife's life, and now he's like suspicious about his wife and this guy. But it's fine, because that means he's going to be jealous, which is what we want anyways. Okay, so that's a big part of it. There's one other part of the plot that I was going to talk about. The craziest last like 3 minutes of the episode. No, this is where I paused and I stood up and I paced, because I was like, this is crazy. So we flash back to 3 years ago, because they've been married for 3 years. So this was the night before his wedding. He's texting with the older sister, who was his fiance, who he's supposed to marry. And she's basically like, call the wedding off. Like, let's not do this. I don't want to do, like, she doesn't even say, like, I don't want to do this. She's, like, threatening him. She's like, call off the wedding, or if you don't, I will expose your family secrets. That's what she says. Threatens him. And so he's basically like, what does he say? I can't remember. But anyways, basically he ends up asking about the sister. So he asks about her younger sister. He's like, oh, let me ask you a question. He's like, is she supposed to marry this guy, like the son of this some other company, whatever, blah blah blah? And the sister's like, yeah, she is. I lost my wording. She says yes, she is supposed to marry this guy. And she's like, no parent or no mother would marry their daughter off to this guy, but her mom, because I guess the sisters don't have the same mom. She's like, her mom would sell, she says sell too, that's an important thing. She says she would sell her off to this guy. So now the guy, the husband, or soon to be husband, knows that his fiance wants to end the marriage, and he knows that the younger sister of the fiance is set to marry this trash scum guy, right? So then this is what he says. He says, the wedding will go through as planned, but we're going to switch the sisters. And the older sister's like, what? So that means, I need you to look in my eyes when I say this. That means because we didn't know who decided that the younger sister would marry him. He's the one that decided that she would marry him. Meaning there must be an ounce, just an ounce of him that cares about her well-being, because when he found out that she was set to marry this guy that's awful, he was like, no, the wedding's still going to go through, but now I'm going to marry her instead. And obviously the reason that he did that partly was because he was trying to protect himself, and so his family's secrets wouldn't get exposed. But you can't deny that there was a part of him that also was worried about the younger sister marrying a bad guy. So then that begs the question, was there some kind of affection? Because when you look back on situations and you look back on little interactions that they have here and there, it's like there's a part of you that thinks, like, does he actually care? Does he have feelings for her? Is there some part of him that likes his wife? Like, maybe even before they got married, did he have some kind of feeling for her? We don't know, okay? We don't know. But that opened the door of maybe there has been some interest. He's had some interest in her. Even if it was just like physical attraction. Hey, that's something. That's more than what he seemed to have shown. Because the whole plot, for the most part, that we've seen of the last 2 episodes is he does not seem like he cares about her at all. But now we're seeing little glimpses here and there where it's like maybe he does. And I'm like, I swear if they do one of those stupid, like, I closed myself off and I told myself I couldn't love you, but now I just, girl, shut up. You could have loved her and it wouldn't have mattered. You guys could have made it work. Because there's even a scene early on, and you know it's early on in their marriage, where, like, she seems like she's kind of trying with him to, like, whether she was trying to, like, seduce him or what she was doing, which she wasn't doing anything, like, scandalous, but she, like, made food and she waited for him, and then he came, and then they were, like, dancing. It was kind of cute, but he was, like, being really dismissive. He's like, oh, don't try to fall in love with me, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. If you get in my way, blah, blah, I'll blah, blah, end you, blah, blah, stupid, dumb man stuff, whatever. And so then, of course, she was like, never mind. So anyways, it's just, maybe he had interest in her from the get-go. Maybe he's always had a little bit of an affection for her. I don't know. And then there's, like, a second lead couple, which had this one scene that was so ridiculous, but it was really hot, so I was like, okay. It was, like, one of those scenes where, like, she's, like, almost falls and he catches her, but it's in the most dramatic way possible that, like, realistically would not happen in real life, but I was like, I'm eating it up. I love a good unrealistic, oh no, I'm about to fall, and he catches her, and it's, like, so dramatic. I love it. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I might do a episode by episode YouTube video because this show is pretty interesting. Like, I am praying that it doesn't get stupid, because sometimes I'll start a show, I will hype it up so much, and then it just absolutely obliterates, explodes, bombs, is awful. So I am like, please stay good, because right now I am locked in. Also, the male lead, ow, my elbow. He's so hot. He's so hot. He exudes just, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, when he walks, like, his face expressions, I'm like, I'm sad. Because he's so fine. The female lead's cute, too. I was glad she started talking, though, low-key, because I was like, I don't like this whole, like, she had kind of this, like, doe-eyed, like, innocent vibe, and I was kind of like, I don't know, I don't love it. But she's, like, actually kind of spicy. She's a little sassy. She's a little sassy and spicy. And also when she's actually talking, I'm like, okay, you're actually interesting. Because otherwise she was just, like, I don't know, she just, like, looks sad. I like when she fights back. Anyways, probably will update next week. But I really like it, so I hope I don't get disappointed. Okay. Bye-bye.